Okay, we're recording. Now, we are back. I know it's been quite a while. First of all, welcome if you haven't been here before, and welcome back if you have. Um, Today, One Piece, Ace Novel, or Ace Story, however you prefer to say it. Um, Volume 2, I guess. Chapter 3 today. So, be ready. Um, and yeah, it's been a while. Um, Change space. As you can tell, the background isn't the same that we had before in the previous videos. Um, got a massive pimple right here, just destroying my face. But we got to make content. I was supposed to do this yesterday, but things didn't line in the stars the way I wanted them to, and the end result is now we gotta do it today. So it is what it is. And I just lost the page. But like you heard us, it was bookmarked, baby. Okay, that's that. Well, to do a recap, last thing we left off on was Shanks and Ben Beckman, I believe, talking, and they were pretty much, I guess, coming to terms with the fact that Shanks couldn't. I don't think he really. I'm not gonna say not respects Ace. I'm more so well Ben Beckman damn sure don't respect Ace. That's a fact. But I'm gonna say Shanks feels like Ace is he's a loose cannon in a sense, and it's not really his best bet in the pirate world. All things considered, going through piracy, you got to deal with a lot of different types of individuals. Everybody has varied personalities, and even worse than that, you got to deal with Marines. And if you're not the type of respectable person that a Marine could, at least hold to some high regard, you're gonna be trampled. It's the new world, bro. Like the fuck. But yeah. So let's get to this. Chapter 1, Section 1, I guess. Whitebeard. That's the only man who could stand toe to toe with Roger, king of the pirates. He's a legendary monster. He's the most powerful man in the world, without a doubt. The man closest to the One Piece. The bits of information that Skull gathered about Edward Whitebeard Newgate came from many sources, but all said the same thing. Whatever you do, don't mess with Whitebeard. The strongest in the world, Ace murmured. It was hard to say what made you the strongest. This wasn't some kid's competition, like foot races or arm wrestling or test grades. According to Skull, the pirate obsessed nerd, in terms of sheer battle power in a one-on-one fight, Kaido was likely the strongest. It, y'all heard me. I ain't really. I'm gonna just run that back for me because I gotta mentally deal with that. I also gotta take a picture, send that to the homie, cause man, look. Okay. According to Skull, the pirate obsessed nerd, in terms of sheer battle power in a one on one fight, Kaido was likely the strongest. If you were sitting around drinking, telling stories, and debating the merits, you might conclude that Kaido was the invincible strongest creature alive, while Big Mom had the strongest family in the world, and Edward Newgate's very life was that of the strongest pirate alive. Hmm. That makes you really think how they give these titles out. Do they really just throw them out arbitrarily? Like, what do you mean looking back at his life? What? For all intents and purposes, as a fan, if I'm giving Whitebeard title of strongest man alive, it's because he went toe to toe with Roger, and he had the Guru Guru on me. So it's like, what? Okay. Whitebeard's terrifying. Whitebeard's terrifying if you break the code. In the pirating world, that means the bond of ceremonial cups. Whitebeard would never rest his progeny, those followers with whom he'd shared cups, were killed. Never. What happened to Odin? That's my only question. What happened to Odin? You ain't share cups with him? Like you ain't share cups? Like y'all ain't go sipping cup like come on, man. Skull warned Ace empathetically. Well, yeah, who wouldn't be upset if his pals got hurt? Same goes for the other emperors. And for me, of course. That's true, admitted Deuce. But are no levels to this sort of thing. When those in your group are harmed, do you feel anger for their sake or anger that your own honor was attacked? Or do you make a show of anger to strengthen the connections within your family? Good question. Um, which do you think is true in Whitebeard's case, Deuce? Based on Skull's sayings, Kaido's the dangerous, combative type, and Big Mom's the more business oriented. Red hair was difficult to pin down. Based on what I saw of him, but I would bet, but I bet Whitebeard's more like your classic pirate type. The pirate crews under his operation are expanding big time. If there's an unaffiliated pirate who wanders into his territory, he sends one of his division leaders to them. If they obey, great. If they don't, there's a simple answer for that. Skull said, clenching in an iron fist to demonstrate. The new world was split between the four emperors, but they were pirates. But they were pirates, including prominent young rookies like Ace, who weren't happy with that arrangement. There were pirates, prominent young rookies like Ace, who weren't happy with. Okay. Ultimately, they would make to excuse me. Ultimately, they would have to make a choice: either join one of the emperors for protection, be destroyed, or carve out their own little slice of territory. That's how things worked on the sea. So let's get down to business here. There's been a bit of chaos lately in Whitebeard's territory, Skull explained, opening up a map and putting chess pieces on top of it. The White King was Whitebeard, while the other white pieces represented his division leaders, arranging around him. Bohemian Knight Doma, the Ao Pirates, the AO Pirates, and a couple more pirates were trying to barge in on Whitebeard's territory. They're not aligned with one another, but they've all started fighting back at the same time. If you dig into the backstory, it seems like there's some sabotage afoot from the other emperors. At any rate, Whitebeard's division leaders are marshaling their forces and heading out to neutralize these threats. Black chess pieces headed into Whitebeard's base. Behind them was the Black King. Then the white pieces pushed forward in the direction of the black. And that means the White King has few defenses now. 4 ships in Whitebeard's main fleet are out on assignment. The Moby Dick, his mothership, might as well be defenseless. I'm thinking about it now, and it's like, y'all mighty bold. Y'all mighty bold. Y'all trying to come in thinking he's like solo. Do y'all not know who's on like the main ship? Like y'all don't have that information privy. Like that's wild. You would assume since it's his mothership, it would be the top tiers, like Marco, Josu, Vista, the guys at Marineford who came in. Whatever. All right, cool. Um, this sounds like the perfect opportunity to take a shot at the world's strongest man, said Ace, reaching for the White King. Down in the water, directly below the piece of Spadil, swam a humanoid figure. It was trailing Ace's ship, and had been doing so ever since the ship entered the New World. In fact, the fishman, or it had been entered into the New World, in fact. The fisherman kicked above the surface and then sank deep beneath the waves, leaving the ship's side in search of some distant destination. Yo. Section 2. The island was wreathed in a thin mist. The Spade pirates moored their ship on the chilly coast, spotted with conifer trees, and disembarked. Nearby animals bolted for safety, alarmed by the arrival of the unexpected visitors. "Nobody's here," said one of the crew. "Stay on guard. We're in Whitebeard's territory now," warned Deuce. It appeared to be completely ordinary. It appeared to be a completely ordinary island, but this was one of the places Whitebeard used to resupply. Resupplying is something any seafaring pirate must do to survive. It's a lifeline, especially when you command a crew of 1,000. Seawater can be purified until it's drinkable, and fish and aquatic mammals can be acquired for food. But there are many supplies like firewood that can only be found on land. So in a sense, the entire island was a working farm producing supplies for the Whitebeard pirates. Right. Somewhere on this rock were fields where farmers worked in Whitebeard's employ, producing vegetables, fruit, and meat for the crew. Ace, Ace received word that Whitebeard's main ship might be stopping by to resupply in the near future, so he took the crew through the mist to secretly disembark on the far side of the island. Is Whitebeard really coming here? Don't chicken out, Deuce. If we get tired of waiting, we can just run up our flag on the island instead. A resupply joint was the ideal place to carve away some territory. If Whitebeard was flustered by that, it would be reward enough. What about the piece of spadine? Mihal's in charge. We'll hide it in the secluded inlet or another and set up a campsite. Who knows how many days we'll be waiting here? They had to be careful that the farmers on the island didn't spot them. The mist would not last forever. I'm going to take a few men and check out the area. Be careful, Ace. Whitebeard might have some soldiers here. It's fine. We're prepping for war anyway. Oh, come on. He was like a knife that was all edge. Ace was always a loose cannon, the type to act before he thought. But he had been more hasty and less careful than ever since they'd reached a new world, Deuce noticed. Why was that? If there had been a starting point, it was when he'd messed with the Whitebeards. Excuse me. It was when he'd messed with Whitebeard's flag at Fishman Island. I don't know why that sentence just destroyed me like that. There had to be a reason for that. Deuce thought he and he alone knew the answer. As for the son of Roger, the king of the pirates, Ace felt invisibly persecuted by the rest of the world. Ace always did have that issue. Now that I'm thinking about it, like he was always a take everything personal type of guy. Like I don't know, kid had issues. He was struggling, trying to free himself from the chains of his father's shadow. He had no interest in the One Piece or being king of the pirates. When Ace told Shanks as much, it was probably the unvarnished truth. Ace wanted to be free of Gold Roger's curse. If he was going to succeed at that, he couldn't be king and find the One Piece. He couldn't just do what his father did. So what should he accomplish? How could he surpass his father? Roger was the first man to conquer the Grand Line, shaking the foundations of the world and bringing about a new era. But in the end, he died a miserable death, executed at Rogue Town. He submitted to the yoke of the world government to overturn the world. Perhaps in some vague way, Ace's goal was kind of a conquest. To be a man ruled by no one and nothing. Not the Navy, not the four emperors, not the world government, not even the celestial dragon. Those gods, those living gods who called upon the Navy like bodyguards to destroy the very concept of protected class like the celestial dragons. All of existence was his foe. That was yo. That's deep, yo. Like he really takes everything. Like he don't fuck with nothing, like at all. Like, sheesh, damn, bro. Okay, all of existence was his foe. So Whitebeard, the man praised for being neck and neck with with the king of the pirates, was the first step on the stairs he sought to climb. What Deuce was doing, asking Skull to investigate, collecting information, and waiting for the right opportunity to launch a surprise attack on Whitebeard's forces, was executing a solid military strategy. But it was not where Ace's interests were. Ace would challenge them directly, even if it meant facing the entire combined might of the Whitebeard's group. Ace, oh, hold on. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, it's 9:03. I actually gotta start doing other stuff. Yeah. Very busy day. Ace would challenge them directly, even if it, okay. Ace took a few men and began walking along the coastline. Deuce gave orders to the others and began to search for a discreet place to push further into the forest. Boom! There was a war. Okay. Boom! There was a roar like a cannonball blast. Where was that? Deuce wondered, holding his breath. Up ahead, the light mist was the inlet where the piece of the Spadil was supposed to have gone. A huge shadow appeared before the spade pirates. The entire group was stunned. Where had it come from? It came leaping out from the bottom of the sea, in fact. A sodded cloth was draped over this figure's shoulder. Isn't that our... Deuce couldn't even finish his question. It was the flag of the spade pirates, the one that flew from their main mast. This creature had torn it off, mast and all, tossed it aside like a scrap cloth. The spade pirates bristled. Tearing down a pirate's flag was equivalent to stomping on their faces with your boot. The only possible result was battle. Deuce was worried about the ship. Was Mihal, the ship's guard, all right? Do you realize what you've done? Ace growled. He stared down the enemy through the mist. I could ask the same of you. Do you understand what you did when you burned down Whitebeard's flag over Fisherman Island? Said a deep, threatening voice. If you know, you know. Watch out for that fisherman karate. It's the boy Jimbei. Oh, gulped Wallace, the fishman of the crew. Ah, you have a fishman too. Do you know who I am, young man? Growled the figure, glaring down from a height of 10 feet. Boss! Yeah, that's Boss Jimbei right there, baby. Boss, gasped Wallace, who was so terrified he could say nothing more. Are you the boy who turned down the 7 warlords then? I don't know nothing about the warlords, you big lug, said Ace, fire enveloping his body. Very quickly, the mist in the area burned away, revealing torn earth. King Neptune of the Ryogu Kingdom and Whitebeard are good friends. That flag protected Fishman Island from pirates, boy. Your actions are too serious to laugh off as a childish prank. It meant making an enemy of all fishermen and doing great insult to the reputation of Whitebeard, Emperor of the Sea. Listen, big guy, I want to see this Whitebeard dude. And then what? You already know. Ace indicated the threat he posed with his flame in his hands. The rookie who spurned the 7 warlords and made contact with red-haired Shanks intended to take out Whitebeard. Well, I can't allow Pops to meet with a boy as sharp and willing to harm as a knife. I am not part of Whitebeard pirates, but I do have an obligation to oppose you. That's one of the warlords, Ace. It's Jimbei, his companions warned. Of course, he was aware with his first son of the sea. Hold on, let's run that back. Of course, he was aware this was the first son of the sea, a man counted among the 7 warlords who was previously wanted for a bounty of 250 million berries. Jimbei, the second captain in the history of the Sun Pirates, had long served as a diplomatic bridge navigating the rocky relationship between human and fishman. Eventually, he was given an invitation by the world government to join the warlords. The warlords are made up of the three great powers. They were government sanctioned privateers, pirates who hunted other pirates. In exchange for a percentage of their earnings, they were granted the right to pillage from pirates and unaffiliated countries without being charged by the government. So Jimbei, the warlord, attacking the Spade pirates was an act sanctioned by law. He could say that he was an assassin sent by the world government to eliminate Ace for refusing their offer, and it would all check out. But Jimbei stood at this moment as an individual of fishermen for his own personal reasons. Ace had been under observation on Fishman Island ever since his encounter with Aladdin. Jimbei had made sure his people knew to keep an eye on him. He'd started off as a dangerous rookie, but Porcus D. Ace had made clear his intention was to take Whitebeard's territory. So they had trailed his ship all the way from Fishman Island to this point. Fishmen could swim after all. The ensuing battle lasted 4 whole days and continued into a 5th morning. It was a battle to the death, a conflict of life against life, one grinding the other down until each side was nearly snuffed out. Jimbei was a master of fishman karate. The secret of the martial art of the Ryogu kingdom lay in having control over the water. Its blows were not simply bludgeoning impacts, but rather sent their force in waves through the moisture in living bodies, trees, the ground, and even in the atmosphere. Ace, on the other hand, wielded the power of the flame fruit. He could transform his own body into fire. It was a Logia power, a seemingly invincible force of nature, but that did not mean there was no way to counteract it. In a fight with one worthy of being the 7 warlords, such weakness would eventually show. And now, after so much battle, Ace's breath and flame were both feeble enough that they were close to being snuffed out. He had collapsed on the ground. The same was true of Jimbei. His clothes were burned, and the expanse of his 10-foot bulk was exhausted to the point of inertia, like a fish beached on land. It's been 5 days, and still neither of them has the upper hand. At this rate, they're both gonna die. The Spade pirates had no option but to keep their distance and to observe the battle a battle that was far beyond their capacities. It was a valuable glimpse at just how powerful their captain was. They'd seen the true measure of his fighting ability in vivid detail, but the counterpoint to their amazement at the skills he had demonstrated was their dread at the sheer strength, stamina, and willpower of the first son of the sea, who could battle so dauntlessly against Ace without the aid of a devil fruit power. Are there more like this in the New World? Those with even greater power than this? In fact, I'm gonna stop him. What, Master Do? They'd been hanging back and watching the battle for days, but the tension of that fight alone had left the crew exhausted. Deuce marched up to Ace and Jimbei, who had both collapsed in a stalemate. The ground beneath them was scorched and riddled with holes. Ace, you alive? Asked Deuce, glancing briefly at Jimbei just in case. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll say it anyway. I'm gonna help you out now. Eh? Apparently, Ace was just barely conscious. He couldn't move. Ace had Logia powers. Had he ever suffered so much damage to his physical body before? A warlord, and a man who refused to be a warlord. It seemed their battle was a peculiar clash of characteristics in which each participant's strengths negated the others. If it were an exhibition of fighting arts, this would be considered a weak match indeed. And both men were incredibly tough. As a fisherman, this could be expected of Jimbei, but Ace proved himself to be nearly superhuman in stamina as well. I'm gonna pick you up, and we're gonna get out of here. Deuce, Ace muttered in protest, but he didn't have strength enough left to brush his crewmate away. If you've got complaints, I'll hear them later. I can't have you dying on me now. For the sake of your honor, I'm just gonna be honest. You picked the wrong opponent, Deuce said, lifting Ace up to lean on his shoulder. Let go. I still haven't finished fighting. The big guy, rasped Ace. But when he lifted his head, he and the rest of his spade pirates saw the last thing they were expecting. Yes. Yet they should have expected it. It was the man they were waiting for. The very man they had come to here to ambush. Ah! Deuce gasped. Beyond the pale mist of the morning was a vast shadow, as big and as round as an island whale. But this whale did not bellow a whale call. This whale had a mast sticking out of its back, and it sidled up the coast like a ship, an enormous ship. If you know, you know. It's the Moby Dick. You better watch your ass. Yo, Ace is done up. This is when he meets Whitebeard finally. Who is it that's come to take my head? Then have at it. I'll take you all on. Standing at the prow of the ship like a hunter over a white whale was the king of the new world. That's the Whitebeard pirate crew. I can handle this myself. Thud. The man struck the edge of the ship with the blunt of his weapon, a long spear-shaped blade called a naginata. A shockwave crackled through the air. That's the... let me go with this one. Boom! Like that, yeah. Whoa, Whitebeard, wow. The naginata had to be 20 feet long, bruh. It looked like a ship's mast in his hand. And the stature of the man called Edward Newgate, Whitebeard himself, was nearly as towering. He had the look of a ruler of the seas. Spade pirates were overwhelmed. They were paralyzed with fear. Some felt their spirit broken and fell to their knees. There was a gust of wind and a shock wave like a slash through the air cut by a master swordsman tore through the spade pirates. He's the guru, one time. One time. Yeah, that was funny. Will Whitebeard just came through, smashed it. Screams. The sounds of his companions' voices brought clarity back to Ace's hazy consciousness. He pushed Deuce away and stood on his own. The masked man stumbled backward to where the rest of his crew waited. Step down here. I've come to take you out, Ace howled. His body battered and bloodied. He barked like a stray dog, calling all attention to himself. Whitebeard unleashed another swing. This flying slash grazed Ace and plunged through the crewmates behind him. Damn! Yeah! Guys, that's it! The flame fence! Boom! A wall of fire, many feet tall, rose up just behind Ace. The sudden roar of flame whipped up the air, blocking the brunt of Whitebeard's gust from passing through. Captain! Captain Ace, what are you doing? Shouted his men from beyond the flames. With the flame fence blocking their way, they couldn't rush forward to help Ace either. Run, all of you! Ace shouted. Whitebeard watched in silence. Eventually, he mocked them. What, chickening out now? First the youngster talked trash, then he started beating a retreat. The great pirate was a bit disappointed. Let my men go, said Ace, staring Whitebeard down. In exchange, I'll stay here until the end. Ace was the captain. This battle was something that Ace had sought for himself. At this, for the first time, the legendary demon that was Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, revealed his human side. He chuckled. You little sprat. You think you're man enough to take me? Wow. Great chapter. Great chapter. So, whoa. Okay, I think we're getting a little bit of time. I think we're gonna end it on this note, but let me just see what's going on. And so I did the work. I just dropped my phone. I did the Whitebeard laugh over here. And then there's this. And then there's just, on the next page, there's this little passage that says, if it hadn't been for Sabo and a handful, if it hadn't been for Sabo and a handful of a little brother like you, I wouldn't have bothered staying alive. Okay, yeah, we'll end it on that note. Okay. Have a good one, guys. See you later.